All right, welcome everybody. To my name is Spinal. Today we have a Decktech. I'm gonna be doing uh, for a Temtem build. I'd like to call Izzit Control Aggro or Slow Down Aggro. Um, and I guess we'll start by talking about the signature ability that kind of spawned this whole archetype. All right, we've got this Tem Pocus. It doesn't see a lot of use, but it is one of the few Tems that have this ability called Slowdown. All right, Slowdown is a zero hold move, so you can use it every single turn. It costs 12 stamina, which means that it's pretty cheap. And let's see what it does. It gives -1 speed. Okay, that's not too great. Probably not worth a turn. However, if you have a mental synergy, it gives -1 speed and it causes the target to fall asleep. Now that is a big upgrade. That makes Slow Down one of the only two moves that can sleep on turn one or with zero hold. The other one being Jinxed Whisper, and Jinxed Whisper causes you to OX yourself. So not only is this more stamina efficient than Hypnosis, it has no hold, which makes it way, way, way stronger, and it gives -speed, which is it's like a side benefit at this point because it's like a side benefit, but there are times when it can be relevant too. So when the Tem wakes up, it is slower. Of course, for it to be really, really good, you want to be faster than it for the first time you use it because you don't want to have to wait 2 turns to use it again. But so this is a very, very powerful move. Here's the thing, though: it requires a mental synergy. So because Pocus is mental himself, um, if you're using Slowdown with synergy, you're gonna have a field. Your side of the board is gonna have at least 2 mentals, and that means at least both of you will be weak or neutral to electric, digital, and crystal, right? So this is the build around. It's very, very powerful. This is one of the weaknesses. We're going to be stacking a lot of these 3 weaknesses: digital, electric, and crystal. And I'm trying to make a team around that. So let's see what else we can do with it. First of all, let's go through Pocus. Pocus is a very interesting Tem. It's got a pretty high base HP and stamina and above average speed. I would say 60 speed is like average. This has 78, so it's not hyper fast, but it's above average. Um, but the thing about Pocus is it has very low, very, very low defense. It's actually so unbelievably low. Like 40 defense is like unevolved Thames level of defense. And it has special defense of 51. So it's pretty weak defensively, but it does have some HP to make up for that. It kind of looks like Mudrid, who has 85 base and 42 defense. And actually, it's very similar to Mudrid, except it's not quite as tanky. Not quite as tanky as Mudrid, but Mental is a better defensive typing than Mudrid's types. Um, so the cool thing about Pocus, his traits are both they're okay. We have Rejuvenate, which regenerates some health every time they use a special technique, which is cool. But our most important technique is gonna be Slow Down, and I'm not sure if we're not gonna Rejuvenate procs every turn, um, and Pocus himself is not particularly bulky or tanky, so like 8% HP is unlikely to do anything. Uh, Maybe it'll save us from like a burn tick, and maybe the second proc will save us from like a poison tick if that matters. But it's not like to do anything. And then there's Dreaded Alarm. When a rival rests, they lose 25% of the max HP. Dreaded Alarm is really, really cool. The problem is, it basically stops your opponent from being able to rest in front of you. The problem is that you can never put them into a position where they have to rest. If they're sleeping, they can still click a move and they won't count as resting. So they won't get the stamina from resting, but they won't take the damage from Dreaded Alarm. Also, if they're trapped, um, you they can swap and they will, like, if they're trapped and exhausted, for example, then you're like, aha, I got you. You can't click any moves because you're exhausted, and you can't swap because you're trapped. However, you can swap. It just will cancel the swap, and so you won't take the dreaded alarm damage. Um, so dread alarm is really, really. It's ostensibly it seems really powerful. However, in reality, against the best players, like they're never gonna trigger this. They're always just gonna click a move. Like, why would they ever rest? And it kind of defeats itself because like the only times they're gonna want to rest is if they're low on stamina, and they're only gonna be low on stamina if they do moves. And if they're sleeping, they're just gonna be sitting there not using their stamina, so they're not gonna feel like real pressure to want to rest. So like it doesn't work very well with the kit, as weird as that sounds. So probably Rejuvenate is better, but I think Dread Alarm might be getting changed next patch, so um, it might come back as a thing. So we're gonna run Rejuvenate. We're gonna run Slow Down. Um, you definitely want to run Gamma Burst. I will say that Gamma Burst is 150 BP. That is unbelievably high. There's like very few moves that have more base power than Gamma Burst. It also exhausts the target for 2 turns, which is like this is like a super giga nuke, just damage wise. And if they survive, they are exhausted for 2 turns. They recently lowered the stamina cost. It costs 36, which is a lot, but it's worth it. So we're definitely running Gamma Burst. This lets you wake somebody up with a lot of damage and maybe kill them 1 round. And then we have 2 other move slots. There's a lot of interesting moves that we can take. There's Time Split, which is interesting. It costs it's 2 prio, 30 damage, so pretty low damage. But the idea is that it slows the target and it speeds you up. So -1 speed to them, +1 speed to you, which is pretty powerful effect. Basically, if you slow down something, you're gonna be able to hypnosis it or you're gonna be able to sleep it and go first after a Time Split. However, is that worth 23 stamina? And it only does 30 damage. Like, these 2 things make it kind of sussy-wussy. If it was just like a move you could spam like 10 stamina, that would be dope. That would be cool. If it was more damage at 23 stamina, I think it could be like 50 damage. That would be cool. That'd still leave it in slingshot range if you wanted to play like that. Like, slingshot Time Split would be kind of cool. But it's very specific about what it does. It's not like a generally good move. There's also Horror, which is a 175 nuke, but it has 1 prio, which is a good and a bad thing, and it can only hit sleeping targets. And even if they're sleeping, they're not forced to stay in. They can still swap, and you'll just fizzle. Your Horror will fizzle and do nothing. Also, not 20 stamina is not a lot, but it's not like free like a 10 stamina ability would be. But it is a humongous nuke, 175, higher than Gamma Burst. It does more damage than Gamma Burst. It's very, very difficult to pull off, because if they ever see you do this, they're going to start swapping like mad, which might be an advantage, honestly. And also, you're going to wake them up, but because like it's 1 prio, you're going to go after your other temp, most likely, and it's going to give the enemy a chance to do a 1 prio move and hit you back, because you're going to wake them up with Horror. So like an example is like if you do this to a Rolder, they could be queuing up Stoneball, and you'll hit them, wake them up, and then the Stoneball will go off most likely, because you're going to try and you're going to be fast on Pokés, because you want to be fast to sleep them to get them to be in Horror range anyways. So it's a very unique, strong ability. We are basically doing a control sleep comp, so if it ever had a use, it would be in a comp like this. I'm not currently using it. I'm taking Hypnosis, and then my speed tiers are very, very specific. So like the fact that Time Burst speeds you up is actually a problem for my team. So instead of Time Split, I'm just gonna take Beta Burst. And I'm gonna go through, I guess, all the Tems. Since I restarted with all the Tems, I'm gonna go through all the Tems and just talk about how I'm building each one. And then after that, we'll talk about like the team composition, like as a whole, We'll talk about like resistances and common enemies and openers. Okay. Just other moves that are interesting. Psychosis, if you want to do like a no damage Pocus, you could do a no damage Pocus with slowdown and hypnosis, and then like killing people with psychosis, like sleeping them and dooming them, could be interesting. Um, Depress does 120 damage, and it doesn't wake them up, so that's interesting. Um, Purgation is a really good move, doing +2 attack. If you're doing like a no damage Pocus, this would be really, really powerful. You could do Purgation and Psychosis. Um, but for this build, we're going to do Slowdown, Hypnosis for consistency, just in case we don't have synergy. Um, and then Gamma Burst and Beta Burst. And probably Rejuvenate right now is better. And then for gear, we are going to run Sweatband, because this is kind of like a grandpa type tem, where if it is allowed to do its thing, it can sit there like manipulating the board for a long time, and it can continue to manipulate until it runs out of stamina. So this is kind of the centerpiece of the team. If you're ever playing against a Pocus team, if they have Pocus on it, it's a excellent candidate for banning, because the tem is you only put it on your team if you're building around it, if that makes any sense. We have other synergies outside of it, but this is kind of the idea for the team. This is like the whole, I don't want to say the heart of the team, but the team operates without it, but this is one of the biggest things that it can do. This is kind of what started the idea for the team, was this ability, Slowdown, because Slowdown is so incredibly unique and powerful. Okay, next tem, Minotaur. We are going to be doing like a physical attack Minotaur. The idea with Minotaur is that it does a couple things. It has Black Hole, which is nice ability, which can remove state changes on enemy tems if they try and do a stall tactic. It has electric typing, which is very, very powerful. And it still has mental typing, so we can control the board with Pocus and provide and Minotaur can provide the synergy for slowdown, while Minotaur can sit here and either get stronger through Purgation. It can do hasty lunge. It can finish people off with Paizo or Black Hole. So this is kind of like a really, really powerful tem right now, and it works with our strategy of like we're trying to abuse Pocus. And it also, because it's electric deals extra damage to other psychics. It deals damage to flying, and it checks like water, and a lot of really important tems die to Minotaur. So we wanted the electric damage, and it also has a mental typing, and it's just a good tem. So that's why Minotaur's on the team. Let's just go through all the mentals first. Then we'll talk about Nagais. Nagais is a very interesting tem. It is very fast, very naturally fast, low HP. It has very high special attack, very high speed, and it also has two very powerful and very different traits. So people will see Nagais, they'll see the Tyrannac, they're going to wonder, is this a Deceit Aura Nagais? And Deceit Aura being an ability that inverts the speed turns. So when Deceit Aura is active, the slowest temp goes first, basically. The slowest move goes first. But this Nagais, most Nagais you'll see will be Deceit Aura, and so they're going to think it's Deceit Aura. However, this Nagais is Water Custodian. Water Custodian redirects any water techniques to Nagais, and it makes Nagais take even less damage from them. Besides that, Nagais is important for a couple of reasons. It's a water typing, which gives us access to a water move. Nagais is Fury. And having water damage is really, really good. It helps you. This is just a really good ability. And the thing about it is it needs another mental for synergy. So you can put Pocus and Nagais on the field, and Pocus will be getting the slowdown synergy, and Nagais will have synergy for the Nagais' Fury. So it's really powerful like that. It defends some of our water weak tems like Mudrid, especially, or Ahi, or even Tyrannac. Tyrannac is not weak to anything, but the fact that water is neutral damage to Tyranax, and water resists fire. Some people try and throw water Tems in front of Tyranax. Nagais can stop that. And then it's just like a generally good Tem, with the Nagais' Fury being a powerful ability. 135 damage to both enemy Tems is crazy high. Like, that's almost as much as Gamma Burst. Gamma Burst is 150. This is 135, but to both enemy Tems, and it's water typing, is really, really powerful. It has Beta Burst, which is generally good damage, 0 hold. It also has Energy Manipulation. Interesting thing about E-Manip is that you can put Energy Manipulation is 45 damage, but it's 3 prio, which is important. Only costs 12 stamina. And if you have Nature Synergy, it goes up to 60 damage. It also exhausts, and with Nature Synergy, it exhausts for 2 turns. So with Energy Manipulation, you can put Handcuffs on Nagais, and now your Energy Manipulation's Handcuff says anytime you hit a Tem that is exhausted, or you exhaust a Tem, you trap them for 2 turns. So what happens? So the thing about sleep in this game is that after you wake up from being slept, you have a condition on yourself called alert. You're alert for 2 turns, so you can't be slept during those 2 turns. Usually the turn you wake up and the turn after. But Nagais can wake something up with Energy Manipulation. They will be sleeping, they'll wake up, and then they will get their alert condition, and then Energy Manip will exhaust them, and then Handcuffs will proc, and it will trap them. And instead of being alerted, it'll push off the alert, and they'll be exhausted and trapped. So what you can do is you can sleep lock Tems with something that can sleep and Nagais. So if Pocus can slow down every turn, Nagais can sit there and just wake them up with Energy Manip, push off their alertness, and then Pocus can slow them down again, and sleep them again. So Handcuffs lets you. It also lets you just trap Tems that are in a bad position. If you slap a side with E-Manip, you know that the next turn they can't swap out. Energy Manip also has 3 prio. So Nagais has a couple of cool roles on this team. It does the very powerful Nagais' Fury. It does it has the ability to push off debuffs, push off buffs, or it has status control basically. It can almost anything that's not immune can have their statuses basically pushed off by Energy Manip. So that also can be useful on your own Tems. Let's say you have a Tem that's about to die from Doom. You could push off Doom with Energy Manipulation and Handcuffs, I believe. Let me double check. Handcuffs, when your target is exhausted, yeah. It doesn't say an enemy. It says any target. So you can even do it on your allies to save them from any nasty conditions they might have. Besides that, it also has Hypnosis, which is useful because it has a lot of speed. This is the spread I'm using right now. I'm not sure that this is the best spread. I could see going all the way up to max speed. I could see sacrificing some special attack. Yeah, I could see sacrificing HP if all you care about is the Hypnosis and like going first. There's a lot of things you could do with this. Right now we're doing this low speed because we don't really need too much speed, because we can Energy Manip to be faster than our sleepers, so we don't have to be faster than them naturally. So we're trying this for now. I could see a different speed number being more appropriate if there's some important thing we need to outspeed. Okay, and then the next mental is Aohi. Wait, it's not Ahi Tuna. But Aohi has 3 syllables, and it's a 4-letter word. That seems sussy. I'm just gonna say Ahi, Aohi. There's some, I don't know how to say this guy's name. If you know how to say his name, bless you. Try and type something out to me in the comments. This is an interesting Tem. Most of the time you see this Tem played physical with Quetzal and Matter Teleport. But we are going to be playing it as a special attacker. It has a really blessed special attack Um, Actually, pretty decent HP, pretty above average special defense. Again, with these mentals, the super low defense values, like Tiernak is over here with like 74, and all these mental temps, they're super low defense. They're very fragile. Basically, they operate on the idea like we need to control your opponents, and that is how we're going to win the game. Um, Ohi is going to be played special attacker, so he can take Fiery Soul. And the problem with special attack is that it doesn't have a really good um, mental attack with special attack. We can use Psy Surge, I think is what we're going to use. It's the thing about Psy Surge is it only costs 17 stamina, which is good, but it's 1 prio and it's 2 hold for 100 damage, so it's like you're getting some stamina efficiency over Beta Burst, but you're losing the ability the hold. It costs you an extra hold, and it's 1 prio, which can be a problem if you're trying to outspeed things. I don't know. Psy Surge might be incorrect. It might be correct to run something like Nightmare Feed. I could see being very good because Nightmare Feed, it does 30% damage, and it heals you 30%, and it doesn't wake up the target. We could also run Horror, as we talked about earlier. Pocus has Horror, access to Horror. This Tem has access to Horror. I'm not really sold on it because it's a bit awkward. It would be less awkward if it was 2 prio, as weird as that sounds. Or if it didn't wake up the target, that would be a lot less awkward. Maybe lower the damage and make it not wake up the target, and lower the stam cost would be pretty interesting. But the fact that it wakes them up but it's 1 prio is really, really awkward because it you want to go you want to hit them with it. They have to still be asleep when you hit them, so the other Tem can't double in on them and hit them first. So you have to go first, but you're 1 prio, and it still leaves you open to counterattack. It's very, very awkward. And then on top of that, like, also they could just swap and obliterate your turn. We are going to run Hallucination. This is an important skill. This is a crazy skill. People sleep on this ability. I think people have been sleeping on this ability. It does a couple things. It does... Normally, it's a 0 hold, so you can use it every turn. It costs 26 stam, which is kind of a little bit high. A little bit high for something you could potentially spam every turn. And it traps the target and exhausts them, is what it does, right? And it's a toxic move. However, if you have mental synergy, it also does 100 damage. It does 100 BP damage. So, interesting thing about that is it gives us status control again. We now can hallucinate any target, and it'll remove all of their buffs and their 2 buffs and debuffs, and replace them with exhaust and trap, which are valuable. Which is valuable by itself. Also valuable because it because it removes the alert status from people. So you can hallucinate something that's sleeping, it'll hit it, wake it up, and then push off the alert status so that Pocus, for example, can slow them down again. So you can slow down lock Tems. You can sleep lock Tems with hallucination plus mental, or hallucination plus a sleep ability. So that's interesting. Also, because Toxic is pretty good. It's not stab, so we don't get 50% more damage, but it is toxic, which is good against certain Tems like Tyrannak, for example. You can really destroy Tyrannak because turn 1 you can hallucinate him, and he's going to take a decent chunk of damage, and probably around like 30-35%, somewhere around there. But he'll also be exhausted and trapped. So then you are free to sleep him afterwards, to keep him in a sleep lock, or you can just leave him there knowing he's going to get doubled next turn and die. Common move we'll do is hallucinate into a gamma hallucinate, which will kill a Tyrannak most of the time. So hallucinate's really, really cool because it lets us control statuses. It gives us toxic typing damage, which is powerful. It has pretty decent damage with mental synergy, but what you will notice is that mental Tems they have a parasitic design. The more mental Tems you have, they always want to be around other mental Tems. Adoraboros is a temp we're not using. That's very similar. It has a Psychic Collaborator, which wants another mental temp. Hallucinate has mental synergy. Nagai's Fury has mental synergy. Slow Down has mental synergy. Like all of these mentals, they always kind of like they always want to hang out with another mental on their team. So that so like I'm saying, we're like stacking Lightning Week, Lightning Quadruple Week, not Lightning Week, but not Lightning Resistant either. Crystal Week, Crystal times 4 Week, Crystal Week. All of them are Digi Week. What a fucking nightmare! If we ever fight a Digi team, we're in trouble. And then the last mental temp we're using is Mix. We didn't go over actually Ahi's last move. You have some options here. Like I said, Nightmare Feed is interesting. Horror's interesting. Right now, we're just going to do Psy Surge. We could also do Psy Wave, actually. Maybe Psy Wave is interesting because it reduces special defense by 1. So that means the next special attacks that hit him will do 25% more damage in addition to the 65 damage this does. It only costs 10 stamina, which is really, really cheap. And it's 2 prio. So this is probably honestly better than the extra 30 damage you get from Psy Surge at the cost of 1 prio. It's also cheaper stamina-wise. Probably just going to use Psy Wave. But Psy Surge can work too. Then we have Mix. Is our last mental temp. This is Mental Crystal. It has Hallucination like Ahi. It has Crystal Spikes, which is a 3 prio crystal move that just one-shots Minotaur. It has access to Horror. It also has access to Energy Manipulation. It doesn't have really great psychic abilities. You could take Horror or you could take Psy Surge. We're probably going to take Psy Surge. It kind of is like a remix of all the other temps we're using right now. Another option is you can do Refresh. One of the interesting things about Mix is it does not have access to Beta Burst. So sometimes you can refresh with it. It also has Puppet Master, which makes it untargetable while it's under 40% health. So that means the only way you can kill it if it gets to below 40% and is still alive. The only way you can kill it is like with the AoE move or yeah, that's it. It's just AoE moves or making it the last temp on the field. Or like killing the other temp first and then you can hit it for that turn, whatever. Which is like, we're not building around it, but it's like a really, really powerful mechanic. And if it puts your enemy, like, they have to be super careful about what they hit Mix with, because just putting it into Puppet Master range can sometimes just be GG, end of game. As far as items, we're not going to do bait on this thing. A lot of times you'll see Mix with a sweatband. Probably do a fake beard because Crystal Spikes cost a lot, Hallucination costs a lot, and if Mix ever gets into Puppet Master range, it'll benefit from having access to a lot of extra stamina, which Fake Beard can give us. So those are the 5 mental Tems. They all have some kind of synergy with one another. These 2 are hallucination bots. We have this for Nagai's Fury, and it's just another Hypno user. Minotaur is just pure damage, but it also gives us the mental synergy a lot of these Tems crave. And then Pocus is like our ultra omega control with slowdown. And then we have those 5 Tems, which all just get obliterated by Digi, Crystal, and Lightning. And now the rest of our team is trying to compensate for that weakness to Digital, Crystal, and Lightning. So first is Tyrannak. Well, let's talk about the more obvious choices. First up is Mudrid. Mudrid's a crystal ground, so Crystal lets us... Crystal and ground both are super effective against Lightning. So like we can one-shot Minotaur, enemy Minotaurs. We can do a lot of damage. We are going to take... what is it called? There is a move that lets our... Not Gravel Bag. Oh, it doesn't search. The search of this thing doesn't search the descriptions, it only searches the titles. So there is Iron Coating, which increases earth damage by 10%, and this creature has 95 base speed. It's one of the fastest Tems in the game. It has 80 base special attack, which is extremely high, and we'll probably try and pump that as high as we can. I don't know exactly what we're using on this thing. Probably something like that. He's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time. He also, so he has Crystal Dust turn 1, which is not great, but he does have access to Soil Steam, which is 115 damage. That's extremely high for a 0-hold move, 115. And then Crystal Dust is very fast. It has 3 prio. We don't have access to the Wind Synergy, sadly, to make it 40 damage and even 4 prio. But we do have access to Crystal Deluge, which is really interesting. It's 100 damage, 2 prio move, but if he has synergy, and it isolates the target. If he has, if Mudrid has synergy with mentals, not only will it isolate the target, it'll also sleep them with a 3 prio. This is a 3 prio sleep with 100 base power in a really good type. That's an extremely powerful move. You have to have the mental synergy for that to work out. But Crystal Deluge is very, very powerful, and it kind of goes with our strategy here. It is 4 times resistant to lightning, and it resists crystal. It doesn't resist digital, but it is really good against enemy. It matches up well against a lot of Tems. It has a 4 times weakness to fighting, so like Gaialis will stop by and just hook, like it won't even have to hook kick. It could just do the helicopter kick and just accidentally hit Mudrid and just one-shot him because he's very fragile with 42 defense, as is tradition on this team. 40 defense, everyone. But Mudrid's good because you could swap him into electric attacks. He just almost is immune to them. He's very, very fast, so he can protect your other mentals. Like Crystal Deluge, if it's up, he will probably outspeed any electric, except for like Minotaur. Like that, maybe if Minotaur has like +3, it can outspeed him. But he's very, very fast. It depends on the Minotaur spread, but he can protect your other Tems really well. With the sleep on Crystal Deluge, or just the fact that it's a 3 prio 100 damage crystal move. He also has Soil Seed, which is a lot of damage. 115 is a lot. And then lastly, if you get a refresh off, it gives him +2 special attack. Oftentimes that'll take his moves from doing like 80% health to doing, if it does like, if normally your move does like anywhere from like 75% or more, it'll turn your moves into one-shotting people, which is a huge difference if you get a refresh off. It's hard to make space for that because this Tem dies in one hit to a lot of things, but with all the control we have on this team, it is possible. So that's why we take refresh. You could also take turbo. We don't have synergy, but a lot of these Tems benefit from being very fast. You could take Quartz Stirred if you want to try and trap people. We don't have any other earths to synergize with though. So there's that. He's one of our anti-electric Tems. Our other anti-electric Tem is Chimorian, who's grass, nature, and crystal. Nature is good defensive typing. It gives us synergy for energy manipulation, which is not a super big deal, but it's not nothing. Chimorian is like Crystal Purum Gatling. It can even Frond Whip, which is 146 damage, can one-shot a lot of things, but it has 1 prio. And then the last 2 moves are kind of, there's a lot of different things you could do. I like to take Sharpening because Sharpening gives +1 speed, +2 attack. And I want my Charmoon to be fast. It has to kind of match the speed of the other Tems that are all like, we are really fragile, so we have to go first and either control or kill. So this Chimerian is going to be a fast one. You can build him a lot of different ways. He's got really good base special defense, base defense, low HP, so like you could pump like 500 HP into this thing and it'd be really tanky. It has big stamina requirements too. You want, I think I'm like running mine at like 81 stam. You don't have to go this high. This is probably too much, honestly. But CPG costing 28, and it's every turn you want to do that. Frond Whip costs 33. Like this thing guzzles a lot of stamina. So I'm running him at 81 stam. You want to run him fast. He hits really hard because of hostile, giving him +1 attack base. Whatever's left goes into attack. This is like the suicide Chimerian build that I'm probably running something close to this. And then last ability you can run, you can do Rush, which is really powerful, just doing 40 damage at ultimate prio, at star prio, which goes before swaps even. You can do Gaia, which refills his stamina bar and heals him 20%. I'm running Gaia right now as like an experiment. If you ever get into a situation where he's facing Temps that can't really do good damage to him, keep him away from fire. He gets exploded by fire. But if you ever get in a situation where he's can't be dealt a lot of damage, you can get a Gaia off, basically reset his stamina bar, and he can just keep pumping out damage. If you ever get sharpening off, it's very, very powerful. Getting +1 speed on this is 25% more, so like what? An extra 50, 75, 80, somewhere between like 75 plus speed. Puts him far above like any natural Tem, basically. 25%, right? Yeah, so even +1 speed puts him faster than any other Tem base. He doesn't have any 3 prio moves. So they can still outspeed you, because 3 prio gives it basically is the equivalent of like +2 speed. But it's still really powerful to have sharpening. Like it does that thing where you just take if it lets him one-shot certain things with Crystal Poop Gatling that normally would just do a lot of damage. So also he's 4 times resistant to electric. So we're stacking these 4 times weak to electric Tems. We have all these electric Tems, and then we have some swap-ins that can completely nullify those. 4 times resistant, 4 times resistant. Chimerian also gives us the energy manip synergy, which is not essential, but it's not the worst. I could see this Tem being replaced by like a Gaialis, which is just oppressively powerful. But I wanted to try Chimerian because it's not sure why. Because I like having crystal moves on turn 1. Chimerian can be opened with, whereas Gaialis doesn't have a crystal move on turn 1, but then after that you're fine. Gaialis might be better in the slot. Gaialis might be better. But also being nature does help our Minotaur spam Hasty Lunge. So it's not strictly worse than Gaialis. It's just an interesting option. And then lastly, we have Tyrannak. We're weak to a couple of things in particular. We're extremely weak to Gaialis. We have no Tem we have can outduel Gaialis. Mudrid can do a lot of damage to it, and then it'll instantly die. Ahi can do some damage to it, and then it'll instantly die. Chimerian can kind of fight, but not really, because it'll just die, because it's weak to fighting. Ahi's weak to crystal. Mudrid's weak to fighting. All of our other mentals are obviously weak to crystal. So we're extremely weak to Gaialis in particular. Tyrannak being a physical attacker, and also being a fire Tem means that it can actually fight Gaialis and come out on top. It's one of the few Tems in the game that can fight Gaialis. Also, the other thing that counters us is bait, because when we hit somebody's bait, when they're attacked, they get immune and invigorated for 3 turns. So that means that's 3 turns that they cannot be hypnosised. So our biggest nightmare is that we fight a Gaialis and we hit it because we try and hypnosis it. We control it because we can't really kill it, and then it has a bait, and now it's not controllable, and it'll just kill 3 Tems in 3 turns. Like, it'll just obliterate your team. So we have Tyrannak to try. It's like an attempt to try and deal with the Gaialis problem. It might be so bad anyways that maybe we just have to say we're instantly banning Gaialis every game no matter what. That's probably a fine stance to take, and we're still probably at that phase. If we have to ban first, we still have to ban Gaialis, because they can just ban Tyrannak and open Gaialis, and we're kind of boned. Unless we can figure out an opener with Mudrid, where Mudrid can Soil Steam, and something else can maybe Beta Burst can and Soil Steam together can one shot Gaialis. The problem is Gaialis can have 500 base HP invest, and when he's like that, he's not gonna die. And we'll try and calc that later. But if he doesn't die, he'll just one shot Mudrid on the first turn, and like maybe Mudrid Ahi can do it with Fiery Soul and Soil Steam. And then the other thing is Gaialis actually has 100 base speed, so he could actually be faster than Mudrid, and he could just one-shot Mudrid. It's the most nightmare giga bullshit fucking 10 in the entire game. It can be spread in a way that it'll survive your all-in. It can be spread in a way that'll outspeed your all-in and kill you first. It can have bait. It often has bait, the one most overpowered item against this team. So with all those things, we're running Tyrnak to try and help deal with it. Tyrnak has two things. It has really good typing for fighting Gaialis or other crystals. It also has Frightening trait. Frightening turns off items on Tems other than him, including your allied Tem. So it turns off their items for the first 5 turns on the field. It's really good against bait. It's really good against Reactive Vial with Rolder. So because this is frightening, we are going to run Sharp Leaf, and we're going to run Flame Meteorite because we want to have a chance to obliterate the enemy Crystal Tems. Like 145 Flame Meteorite will just one-shot a lot of Tems that are weak to fire. And then Outgrowth's just incredible move. Traps, Sap Stamina, does AoE damage. Normally on my Intimidating Tyrnak, which is anti-traits, I run Meteor Shower, but we're not running Meteor Shower because Sharp Leaf lets us pop enemy Reactive Vials on Rolders. It lets us threaten Ukama, which sometimes people like to run Ukama in front of Tyrnak. It gives and the problem with Meteor Swarm is that it's AoE, and oftentimes our other Tem is going to be trying to control the battlefield like Hypnosis or whatever. So it's really kind of Pepega when you have Meteor Swarm, because Meteor Swarm always goes last, and you try and sleep them, and then he wakes them up. So we're definitely taking Sharp Leaf instead of Meteor Swarm. And that's the team. It's not the. It's really this is not like an S tier team. If you want an S tier team, we'll do an S. Like write down in the comments below. I'll give you like a basic S tier team. This is not an S tier team. This is a cool little exploration of Slow Down. It's a cool ability. If you're new to the game, this is not a good starting. This is not a good starting thing because a lot of these Tems are very niche. Like you're going to be investing a lot of money and time into training these Tems. They're not going to do anything except for being this one team. If you're a new player and you're interested, I can point you to some resources for basic teams, or I can even do a Decktech of like a basic team. I should probably do that. Yeah. Let's just check. Let's just check real quick. Before we go, I just want to do a quick calc here for this monster Tem called Gaialis. It can just ruin if it has 500 HP and 50 special defense, which is not out of the realm of reality. Can my Mudrid with like 400 special attack, maybe like 450. Can my Mudrid, or even let's just say 500. Let's just say 500. Can my Mudrid Soil Steam and can my Ahi Fiery Soul, does this kill? Soil Steam can do up to 90% damage. Okay. Oh man. Oh, this is not right. It's like, let's do this. Let's do like this. Okay, this is not a real calc. Okay, so Soil Steam actually does, even to this 500 HP, 50 special defense Gaialis, Soil Steam can actually do a lot of damage to it. It can hit it for 84%. So Madrid can potentially, with something else that is also faster than Gaialis, kill this thing. However, if Gaialis has any speed invest whatsoever, if let's say, hello? Hello? Okay, at 200 it doesn't outspeed. It does, however, one tap Madrid at 250 attack with a helicopter kick. It'll just obliterate Madrid. Does it obliterate it? Okay, it needs a little bit of attack. It doesn't need. Oh gosh. Okay. With the rest of the speed. Alright. It can't be. Okay, so it will die to Madrid actually. So we have a Hail Mary. It's an extremely all-in play because they can easily just swap Gaialis out, or their Gaialis can be, instead of 500 HP, it can be 500 speed, and now it's gonna go before Madrid and kill it. So either their Gaialis is fast and will outspeed Madrid and just kill it instantly, or their Gaialis is slow and you have to do everything in your power to try and kill it before you die. You're still gonna take a ton of damage from mirroring, by the way. You're gonna do 8% to yourself here. This is bugged. This is bugged. That's alright. So this is the problem with Madrid. But this is the problem with Gaialis. This is why we're permanently banning it. But we do have a chance to kill it before. We do have a chance to kill it with, probably even with Pocus. How much special attack on Madrid? 400? Wait, what? Why did my damage just go down from 80%? Oh. I think it's bugging out. 62? Wait, we were doing 80 just a second ago. I think it was bugged out. We're not doing 80% damage to Gaialis. We're doing 62%. This is so buggy. I think I'm just gonna cut this out of the video. How upsetting. Anyways, thanks everybody for stopping by and enjoy the team.